Hey guys, well now we understand that radical halogenation prefers to occur at the most stable radical intermediate, which in most cases would be tertiary, right? But it turns out that not all halogens are created equal, and some aren't going to play by the rules at all. So this is going to introduce a brand new topic that we have to talk about, which is called radical selectivity. So guys, don't get distracted by the pictures yet. We're going to talk about them, but first I just want to talk about what is radical selectivity. Well, radical selectivity is defined by the ability of a radical to only halogenate the carbons with the most stable radical intermediates. So basically, if a radical tends to only halogenate the best part of the molecule, the most stable part of the molecule, that's called selective. And you would think, well, molecules are smart. Why wouldn't they all make the right decision? Why wouldn't they all pick the best spot? It turns out, guys, that, like I said, some halogens just don't like to play by the rules. They like to break the rules. So instead of picking the best spots, sometimes they're going to pick some really terrible spots. So what I want to do is I want to bring an analogy to this so we can figure out what's an analogy of halogens making good decisions versus halogens making really bad decisions. And one analogy that comes to mind is, a dinner party on a Wednesday night. So imagine that you're out with your friends and you go to, a little dinner get together at a local restaurant, and it's just like a normal night. You're just sitting with your friends, you're talking about the weather, all that fun stuff. But there's that guy at the party that is the wild card. You don't know what he's like. He could be a total disaster, or maybe he's just a straight A student. You're waiting to find out. Well, it turns out that the way we can predict whether he's going to make some good decisions or bad decisions is really related to how exothermic of a halogen he is, okay? So this trend that I'm about to tell you isn't actually completely true. In a following video, I'm going to explain more rigorously the relationship between how exothermic a reaction is and how selective it is, but this is just going to help you remember the trend, okay? So basically, if you're talking about radicals, the more exothermic the reaction, the more non-selective the reaction tends to be. So the more energy is released, the more non-selective. And in terms of your dinner party on a Wednesday night, that means the more hungover this guy is going to get, okay? The more hungover he's going to be in the morning, okay? So let's go ahead and just go radical by radical. Once again, there's 4 halogens, right? 4 radical halogenations that are possible. Let's talk about each one and see which one makes the best choices and which one just ends up being a big mess at the end of the night. So let's talk about fluorination. So guys, fluorination is the most exothermic reaction of all, okay? Fluorination releases 432 kilojoules per mole per mole of reactant that's created, or that's reacted with, okay? So this is an insane amount of energy. Now in terms of our trend that we talked about, does that mean it's going to be selective about his alcohol consumption or non-selective? Probably very non-selective. So perhaps you've heard this phrase before that says beer before liquor makes you sicker. Well, how about if you just drink the entire bar? Okay, that's what fluorination is. Fluorination just says, hey, I'll take one of everything you got. So basically what this means is that fluorination is not used in radical halogenations because it's just too crazy. You can't control it. Call 911. It turns out that radical fluorination is so reactive, so exothermic that it just blows up on the spot. You could literally die. So we don't use radical fluorination in the lab, and for the same reason that you don't invite that guy to your party. He's just going to drink the whole bar. You're going to have to drag him out. He's probably going to be have to go to the hospital. So this guy, fluorine, F2, and light or heat, we don't use. Okay? So we're just going to put a big X on that because it's not selective enough. All right? So let's go on to chlorination. So we can see chlorination releases 101 kilojoules per mole. That's a lot better than 432 in terms of it's not quite as exothermic. But guys, it's still a ton of energy. So imagine that you're at this dinner party and this guy, he's got his act together a little bit more. He's not going to pick all of the alcohol, but the alcohol he picks is like 4 Loko, okay? If you haven't heard about this alcohol, it's because it was banned by the FDA, okay? So Four Loko, just a bad decision. Maybe he'll be able to walk out on his own, but he's not going to be in good shape. This is not the kind of person you want to invite to your dinner party, okay? So again, very exothermic, not very selective, kind of just picking all the flavors of Four Loko. That's not what I mean by selective. And in the same way, if we were to talk about Cl2 and heat or light, let's just put heat, this is a rare reaction. We don't use it very much because it's not very useful. It's not very selective. So the only type of radical chlorination that we'll do is if it has a single type of H. Basically meaning that as long as your molecule only has one type of H on it, you could use chlorination, but in general, not the best choice. Chlorination, once again, too non-selective. He's just going to pick like the worst alcohol of the entire bar. Okay? So let's go on to bromination. The voice of reason. Bromination is that dude that, he's going to be a great dinner guest, okay? He's responsible, he's got his homework done, he probably meal prepped already, and he's having one single glass of wine with dinner because he found out that it's good for his cardiac health, all right? So as you can see, it's still exothermic. It's still going to be most likely a spontaneous reaction, right? So 26 kilojoules per mole, but it's low enough so that it's going to be selective. It's going to look at its options, and he's going to say, I'm going to take the Merlot. I'm going to take the best wine that you've got because I just want one glass. I want to have a good time. I'm not going to get crazy blasted tonight and get hammered, okay? So what we say about bromination, or simply Br2 in heat or light, is that this is your ideal halogenation. This is what we consider the only useful method for selectively halogenated alkanes. What I'm trying to say is that if you have a molecule that has primaries, secondaries, and tertiaries on it, bromination is the one you want to use because bromination is always going to pick the best spot. It's going to pick the tertiary, not the secondary. And if there's no tertiaries around, it's going to pick the secondary. Basically just saying it's always going to make the best decision, okay? So bromination, awesome. Chlorination, fluorination, huge mess. We want to use chlorination rarely, and fluorination you'll never use, okay? And then finally, iodination. So iodination, very well-intentioned. She actually just didn't show up to the dinner party because she was too busy praying for the world. So she didn't show up. And part of this is that iodination, as you see, actually is endothermic. So it actually is going to take energy to put into the system to make it happen. So non-spontaneous. This reaction is not going to be spontaneous. And as you can see, I say not a spontaneous reaction, don't even try it. So basically, iodination, has a great heart, but just doesn't show up to the dinner party at all because she has a higher calling. So she's just not going to do radical halogenation, okay? So what is the summary here? Well, the summary, hopefully maybe this analogy sticks a little bit, but what I'm basically trying to say is that the best halogenation, the most selective, is bromination, and then sometimes you can use chlorination. If you've just got one type of hydrogens, you could use chlorination, but you're never ever going to use fluorination, and you're never ever going to use iodination for totally opposite reasons, because one is too crazy and one isn't crazy enough. All right, and then finally, this last point here just says, keep in mind that chiral products are always racemized. What does that mean? Well, it means that if your tertiary, let's say you're doing a bromination, and let's say that your hydrogen or whatever, right? This is the one that's going to be reacted with, is chiral. So let's say that you had a methyl group and an ethyl group and a propyl group, right? So, and let's say that you were to take away this hydrogen and replace it with a halogen, so Br, because Br is so great. Okay, we're going to do this more later. But what I'm trying to say is that if this is a chiral center, you're going to get racemized products because you could get the bromine either attacking from the front or you could get it attacking from the back. So you're going to get enantiomers. You're going to get 50% of one and 50% of another. Okay? Awesome, guys. So anyway, I hope that this video is taken the right way. I'm not promoting underage drinking, by the way. Just letting you guys know, if you're going to make decisions about alcohol, let's make the right decisions. Go with bromination. not these other, more wild situations that are going on the top of the page. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next video.